There's a civil war going on. Let's talk about it. First, I want to say thank you to everybody for all of their prayers and well wishes. As you can see, I'm still in the bed, but today is a good day. Today is a good day. The pain isn't as bad as it's been for the past couple of days. Today, I was able to take a shower. Today is a good day. My knee is feeling stronger. It's feeling more stable. So, yeah, fingers crossed that by the end of these 7 days, I'll be back to normal. Anywho, there is a civil war going on over there in MAGA. I've been noticing bits and pieces, picking up a few things here, picking up a few things there. But that interview that Tucker Carlson just did with Nick Fuentes, they are in full civil war mode over there on the right. So much so, you have organizations that have been financially supporting and backing the Heritage Foundation, that they are cutting financial ties with the Heritage Foundation. That's how bad it is. I want to read to you what I posted on Threads the other day. I posted, Ben Shapiro is fighting with Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes because they are America first and are against It's Not Real. MAGA is against Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson because they are against It's Not Real. Candace Owens is against Ben Shapiro because he fired her because she was speaking out against It's Not Real. MAGA is against Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's being manipulative and trying to secure her political future. Laura Loomer is against Marjorie, Candace, Nick, and Tucker because they aren't for It's Not Real. Ted Cruz is against Nick Fuentes because he's not for It's Not Real. Nick Fuentes is loudly speaking out against J.D. Vance because he is for It's Not Real and is not America first. Half of MAGA can't stand Erica Kirk and finds her actions to be very suspicious when it comes to her husband's death. Candace Owens is on Turning Point's ass, directly calling out Donald Trump and is shading Erica Kirk over CK's death. But wait, there's more. Let me scroll up. Okay, here we go. Vivek Ramaswamy finding out that MAGA is racist and will never accept him because he's Indian. Kash Patel is finding out that MAGA is racist and they're telling him to get out of America. Officer Tatum, that's a content creator on the right, MAGA nut, is finding out he too is a token because he wasn't invited to the CK service, Charlie Kirk. MAGA is turning on Trump because they are feeling the horrors of his policies, i.e., groceries, jobs, insurance going up, SNAP and housing cut. And Bill Maher is trying to figure out where the black people at. Did I miss anything? I got it all. I believe I got it all. But now let's add on to the list. The other day, Tucker Carlson did an interview with Nick Fuentes. And if you know Nick Fuentes, he said some anti-Semitic things. He said some anti-black things. I'm sure he said some Islamophobic things. That's who Nick Fuentes is. He's a white nationalist. He's a groyper. He is the bottom of MAGA. And because of the anti-Semitic things that he said, a lot of the MAGA nuts ain't feeling Tucker Carlson for having this interview with Nick Fuentes. That's number one. And number two, Tucker Carlson allowed him to say those things throughout the interview with very little to no pushback. They are saying that the interview was a softball interview. Okay? So, people on the right, Republicans, they ain't feeling Tucker Carlson. Ben Shapiro did a whole show talking about Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes and this interview, and showing all of his supporters who Nick Fuentes really is and calling out Tucker Carlson. I believe he's a congressman in the Senate. Don't hold me to that. His name is Randy Fine. He came out strongly against Tucker Carlson.
And I could stand up here all day and take shots at the left. I like it. It's how I got that nickname they told you, the Hebrew Hammer. But I'm here for the kids down here, because it's easy to talk about anti-Semitism on the left. I want to talk about the dark force rising on our side. Multiple speakers have talked about the rise of anti-Semitism on the right. But it is not enough to speak in platitudes or generalities about the fight. We must call evil by its name. 5 years ago, if I was talking to my father, who's watching, hi Dad, if I was talking to my father at 8:59 p.m. at night, he would say, Randy, I gotta go. Tucker Carlson's gonna be on. But make no mistake, today, Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. He has chosen to take on the mantle of leader of a modern-day Hitler Youth, to broadcast and feature those who celebrate the Nazis, those who call for the extermination of Israel, to defend Hamas, to even criticize President Trump for stopping Iran's nuclear ambitions. Friends, make no mistake, Tucker is not MAGA. Tucker's fall from grace has been one of the most extraordinary implosions in political history. And the rapidity of it has created real challenges for us all. Because our friends don't have our shared experience. I even deal with this with my colleagues in the House. See, they remember the Tucker of 5 years ago. They don't live with anti-Semitism every day. They don't think about it the way that we do. And it's jarring for them to try to understand, how did this person become who he is today? But the challenge is he's inspired a movement of hate in our midst. And I'm not done calling people.
They are all in an uproar that one, Tucker Carlson had the nerve to interview Nick Fuentes, to allow Nick Fuentes onto his platform to have a conversation. I think the interview was 2 hours long. The audacity of Tucker Carlson to allow that to happen. They are all in an uproar. And then to allow Nick Fuentes to say anti-Semitic things during the interview with little to no pushback from Tucker Carlson, baby, they are all up in arms over there on the right. Let's head on over to the Heritage Foundation. Now, the Heritage Foundation is the architect of Project 2025. They put out Project 2025. People like Mike Johnson, Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, Russell Voigt, and so many others, they are tied to the Heritage Foundation. Okay? So a lot of people in Donald Trump's administration who are a part of his cabinet, they came from the Heritage Foundation. Okay? The Heritage Foundation is in lockstep and barrel with MAGA. The Heritage Foundation is a Christian nationalist organization. The Heritage Foundation is also very much tied to It's Not Real organizations and leaders. So they're all together like this. Okay? And so when I was digging into this and I realized this, it made sense to me as to why the Jewish community has been silent all of these years when it comes to the anti-blackness spewed towards the black community. They're okay with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and all of the rest of them. They're okay with them spewing anti-blackness, racism. They're okay with that because that benefits them politically, right? But when they start spewing anti-Semitism, they've crossed the line. When they're not out there rooting and supporting It's Not Real publicly, when they are criticizing It's Not Real publicly, they have crossed the line. And that is the issue with Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson. They have crossed the line. And therefore, the people over at the Heritage Foundation, they are in an uproar. People who financially support the Heritage Foundation, they're pulling their support. People are quitting over at the Heritage Foundation. Why? Because the CEO, Kevin Roberts, the guy who said to us that when they get into office, Donald Trump, everything would be bloodless, will be bloodless as long as the left accepts what is being done. Wasn't in those words specifically, but that was the meaning of the words that he said. Kevin Roberts had to come out and speak on this interview, this video between Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. And this is what he came out and said.
I'll have more to say on this in the coming days, but today I want to be clear about one thing. Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic. And of course, anti-Semitism should be condemned. My loyalty as a Christian and as an American is to Christ first and to America always. When it serves the interests of the United States to cooperate with Israel and other allies, we should do so, with partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure becomes from the globalist class or from their mouthpieces in Washington. The Heritage Foundation didn't become the intellectual backbone of the conservative movement by canceling our own people or policing the consciences of Christians. And we won't start doing that now. We don't take direction from comments on X, though we are grateful for the robust free speech debate. We also don't take direction from members or donors, though we are inherently grateful for their support. And we're adding more every day. This is the robust debate we invite with our colleagues, our movement friends, our members, and the American public. We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. And we have seen success in this approach. as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left. As my friend Vice President Vance said last night, what I am not okay with is any country coming before the interest of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we are American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's where our allegiance lies, and that's where it will stay.
And with that, people started quitting over there at the Heritage Foundation. Yes, several people have walked out the doors of the Heritage Foundation. His chief of staff, Kevin Roberts, demoted his chief of staff, stating that he made a mistake in putting that little speech together for him to put out. He demoted his chief of staff, and then his chief of staff said, "Fuck you, I'm out." Chief of staff quit. They had a big old meeting. He had to call a meeting because people are so upset. They are calling for him to resign. They're calling for him to resign. They say he can no longer effectively lead the Heritage Foundation. Yeah, he somewhat apologized. I'll tack that video in at the end. Yeah, he somewhat apologized during that meeting, but the damage is done. There is an all-out war over there on the right. This one is fighting with this one. That one is fighting with this one. The POC over there in the movement are realizing that they don't want you over there either. You thought you were special? No. They used you to get Donald Trump into office. They were okay with you and your anti-blackness and spewing your hatred and denigration for black people in the black community. They were okay with that. They welcomed it. They supported it. You helped them to get their chief racist in the White House. And now they want nothing to do with you. They want you to go back to your own country. They want you to get out of this country. They don't want to have anything to do with you, Officer Tatum. That's why they didn't invite you to the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Candace Owens, that's why they booted you, girl. You had your token had been spent. Yeah, you got too big for your britches, girl. They didn't want to hear you talk bad about their beloved It's Not Real. You can talk shitty about black people all day long, but to talk bad about It's Not Real, to critique It's Not Real, that is unacceptable. And they booted you out. And all I got to say is, baby, let them fight. Shout out to Reese Waters. Let them fight. Let them get it out of their system. And I'm going to be right here to instigate it all. I'm going to be right here to keep y'all posted on how the battle is going. Baby, they are in a knockout, drag-out fight over there on the right. I don't care. I saw these video clips of some Patriot Awards. I don't care what they try to put out there in front of the cameras. Baby, I'm over there walking in them dirty streets, them dirty MAGA streets to get the tea. And then I'm going to bring the tea back to y'all.
A few days ago, I posted a video, truly with the best of intentions. I and Heritage don't engage in canceling people. Because when you cancel people, especially in the age of social media, if in fact you do that because you want their audiences to get smaller, you make their audiences bigger. And then there's the whole thing of the loyalty toward friends. And speaking as a pretty proud Generation Xer, my motivation, having seen over the last 25 years, basically the entirety of my professional career, that men and women of all ages, but especially in my generation, have been canceled from every industry, my motivation was to draw a line in the sand and say, let's stop that. You have a problem with the content, you have a problem with the issues, you have a problem with the ideas, by all means, go debate them. But I have to tell you, to the students, that this old history professor made a mistake. And I'm not saying that your professors at Hillsdale make mistakes. But sometimes you can make a mistake and with the best of intentions. And my mistake was not saying we aren't going to participate in cancel culture. We're not. My mistake was letting that, which we will never backtrack from, override the central motivation that I had in doing that. Because I can tell you as an old professor, but also as a dad of 4, there's one of those ideas that really worries me. It's an idea that has become cachet, not just on the left, but on the far fringes of the right. And that's anti-Semitism. And so let me say loud and clear, the Heritage Foundation, which has always not only stood against anti-Semitism, and I, if you know anything about my career, have done the same, we will never, ever, ever stop fighting against anti-Semitism in all its forms. And I mention that to the Hillsdale students, not because I believe you're flirting with that, but because, as a dad of 4 of your generation, and my kids don't flirt with that, I do know that several million Americans your age, especially young men, do. And our motivation at Heritage for making that statement was to begin appealing even more than we have to those largely disaffected young men who are looking for belonging and identity by following the wrong people. And so the second apology that I would make is especially to any friends, particularly Jewish friends, who, thank goodness because of their magnanimity, understand what Heritage and I are trying to say, that even though you appreciate the motivation and the intention and you trust us, we know that now is a particularly scary time to be Jewish. It is a time when the rise of anti-Semitism on the left, which is far more widespread and profound than it is on the right, at the same time happening on the right, means that it's very difficult. Acknowledging that in my world, which is the world of communication, that the first principle of communication is if anyone doesn't understand what you were saying, then you didn't say it the right way. I am grateful to be able to explain that here at this institution. Because this institution, Hillsdale College, is a place not just of high learning, not just a place with excellent professors and excellent students, but it's also a place, most importantly, and this comes back to my motivation, a place of the heart, a place of the soul. And in our line of work, public policy and politics, you might think that the Heritage Foundation is exclusively worried about politics and policy. We love those things. But the reason we do that is because we care very deeply, very affectionately about the American people, and especially the souls of our young men, particularly our young men, who are flirting with these noxious ideas.